What's up, everybody? It's a special Godzilla edition of the Ghost Files. It's going to be the Godzilla Files. Godzilla taking over. How's everybody doing? It's Friday. I think this is over. Good. I left it off loop. Holy crap. Mike wasn't working there for a second, but here we are. It's Friday. It's the Ghost Files, and there is a brand new Godzilla movie out in theaters right now, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. The New Empire. Yeah, that's right. I'm your host, Vinny, just running around getting things done on a Friday to hang out with you. Maybe I should come back, huh? Well, we're having fun. Let me see. You got comments rolling in. Let me throw on some headphones so I can hear what the hell's going on. Oh my God, what a day. What a day. Here we go. Who's in the chat today? Going up to the top, I see Gregory Peck jumping in, saying hello. What's up, man? Nice New World logo. We like that, right? I think I got rid of that shirt. Undead One, my good friend, moderating the chat, reminding everybody. In fact, we should be reminding everybody that this Sunday, Never Hike Alone 2 Blu-rays. It's your last chance to order them. We're going to close the campaign for the Never Hike Alone 2 Blu-rays this Sunday, so make sure you get your orders in. We are running a contest right now. If you share any of our links, if you take any of our photos, if you share anything you've gotten from the past, and you share it on social media, take a screenshot of it. Take a picture with your phone. Do whatever you got to do. Email it to wompstompfilms@gmail.com, and you will be entered into a contest to win a screen use prop. You'll get on the list right at the end. We're going to choose 5 winners. So it's not just one. You have a decent chance of getting in. We've got a pretty good amount of people that have applied already, but emails have been slow lately. People have just been posting. They haven't been emailing. So get ahead of the game. Definitely hop into that. Let me see. Back to the comments, taking him down. Yana in the chat, one of my faves. How you doing, Yana? Hope you're doing well out there. Who else is around? Janine. This is I'm glad you liked it. Alley Girl, of course you'd be here. Another regular. Good to see you. Good to see you. Jordan Harvey coming in with a couple of broken legs and a 2009 reboot Friday the 13th fan film idea. And that seems to be all caught up on that stuff. Yes, this week we're gonna take it pretty easy. No guests, just me talking to all of you about my experience last night at Godzilla X Kong. the New Empire, Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, Godzilla and Kong, the new X. I don't know what they want with that, but hey, it's pretty fun. Before we dive into my actual feelings on that, we should talk about Godzilla a little bit. What's my relationship with him? How long have we known each other? How many Godzilla films have I watched? What kind of Godzilla fan am I? Well, if you can't tell, I brought some of my friends along tonight. And that's just a few of them. I actually had this guy since childhood. Godzilla's been like my thing, was one of the things that got me into horror as a kid. I mean, somebody gave me, I think, a stack of VHS tapes that had like War of the Gargantuans, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, Godzilla versus Megalon, all that fun stuff. And so I grew up very early on Godzilla, watched the originals. But I've been a Godzilla fan since the beginning. Just as much as I love Friday the 13th, I am a fanatic about Godzilla. In fact, I wanted to start a blog a long time ago called Everyday Godzilla, where I just do everything in that mask, which I may try to bring back one day. It's also a great Mardi Gras costume, Mardi Gras Godzilla, which actually in Mardi Gras, what did they say to me? I walked by and some lady was like, "Hey, crocodile." And it was the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So that became like the saying for Mardi Gras that year. Anyway, back to the story. So where was I with Godzilla? I love it. You know what I mean? I can't get enough of it. The Showa era, the Heisei area, Millennium, some of the new stuff, Shin Godzilla, obviously Godzilla -1. I've talked about it a little bit on the channel before. And then there's this Monsterverse, legendary Godzilla verse that started in 2014, which, has kind of gone in many different directions. And it's all sort of led up to this big movie. It's like, where are they going with this? It's starting to get long in the tooth and tell more stories. We got Kong stories. We got Godzilla stories. We got TV shows. They're fighting each other. They're friends. It's all over the place. And how does it stack up to someone who's been watching Godzilla their entire life? How do I feel about it? So I thought it would be probably best to start off with, why is Jordan Harvey still on my screen right now? There you go. Jordan, go sit down. Go rest those broken legs. So let me try to put this in a nutshell so we can get right to the good stuff. I'm a big fan of almost everything. You can't really put on a Godzilla movie and turn me off, except for maybe like Son of Godzilla and some of like the ones where he just looked like a bent toe. It just like looked bad. Like, there was one where he just like his eyes were on top of his head and it was like really, really bad. Although I'm a huge fan of Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. It's one of the first ones I ever saw. Ibra, Horror of the Deep. Totally underrated film. I love how it's almost like a James Bond movie mixed with a Godzilla movie, and it's really goofy and the plots go all over the place. But if I had to rank my tops, I mean, obviously you got the original. I'm a big fan of Godzilla 1984, Return of Godzilla, both the Raymond Burr version and the original Japanese version, which is superior. All the Japanese cuts of everything. I mean, I'm a Toho guy through and through. I believe that the Japanese, they created that character. They know exactly what to do with the character. They very rarely miss. Some of the films I can understand can be a little laborious and boring and nerdy and things like that, especially in like the Heisei area. Some of the Millenniums can be a little goofy and a little Power Rangery. I mean, I think you could say, but it's a lot of fun there. But I do enjoy those films. I'm a big fan of Shin Godzilla. I loved how it was a satire on government and taking charge and leadership and people second guessing themselves and all that stuff. It was a weird sort of take on natural disasters, which was very in at that time. Japan was dealing with the tsunami and some of the aftermath with that. I think they did a great job. -1, I mean, beautiful film. I think it should have won an Oscar for Best Picture, not just visual effects. I think it really sort of set the tone for Godzilla stuff this year. Obviously, we got the Monsterverse, Monarch, which came out sort of after it, which was a little bit fair. But let's talk about the legendary verse. So I love Toho. They really can't do wrong. 1998 Godzilla, that forget about that. That never happened. That just never happened. It's my Jason Goes to Hell, the Godzilla movies. Of course, the Americans got it and screwed it up. The fact that Godzilla doesn't have atomic breath, that alone, can't watch it. It's like Jason without a hockey mask. I just don't even want to get into it. So skip that one. Let's go to Legendary 2014. I love that film. It captured the spirit of the original films. I thought that there were some it's not a perfect film by any means. There's very little Godzilla into it, but I love the grand scale of Godzilla. I love the way that the sort of the tone of 2014 was grounded. I thought the stories were good and heartfelt and emotional. Godzilla was very reined in and in that epic and legendary and powerful. And so when he did appear, it really meant something. And he had so much weight and mass, and he always just felt huge and big. And as a fan, I just love that part. And when he does show up at the end and you get to see him, take out the Mutos, that was, doesn't get any better than that for me at the end. Going on in that series, I would say that Legendary's Monsterverse has struggled a little bit because Gareth Edwards set a tone with that first film that none of the other films have really followed. Ever since that one, we went sort of from like the original Godzilla right into like late stage Showa era. And Skull Island really set that up. Skull Island had a chance to be like King Kong meets Predator, but it became like King Kong meets Tropic Thunder. Everybody was a jokester. Everybody was like trying to be funny. There was just a lot of needle drop music. And it was just sort of going like, I don't know, the sort of rhythm and pacing of the film was very odd. And I didn't really feel for the characters like I did in the original 2014 film. So Kong Skull Island, Kong Skull Island, even though it had amazing visuals, it had some really cool fight sequences, I really wasn't that interested in sort of the grander scale of it. It didn't really buy me in. When King of the Monsters came out, Pathosis director Austin Bonang was one of the visual effects supervisors, one of the previs supervisors for that. So I got to see some of the Arctic stuff before the film came out. So that was pretty cool. You start to see, again, that this tone, which is sort of ingrained in sort of the Monsterverse now, I think, in their writing, which is all of a sudden there's just a lot to explain all the time. Characters are going all over the place with as far as, again, if you think about 2014, everyone in the military was very grounded, everything that was very pragmatic, everybody had to take sort of steps. And then these films sort of like let go of reality and have slowly been sliding, like I said, in that late stage Showa kind of theme, but not gracefully. I think Doherty did a great job as far as like the fights in that movie, Godzilla fighting King Ghidorah and Mothra and Rodan and all of those things I thought were really, really set up well. I thought that the storyline with the humans was very saccharine, and that's a word I'm going to use a lot tonight, is saccharine. It's something that's just oversaturated with going too far on trying to sell the emotion or trying to be too funny and just trying too hard versus just trying to be natural and let the situation play out. There's always this sort of like essence to sort of bring it to the next level. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the way that Godzilla versus Kong sort of did that, or Godzilla times Kong did that. And Godzilla versus Kong did it too. Let's get into that because that's the next one to follow up. That was my biggest issue with Godzilla versus Kong, was that there was a lot of stories. Everybody was goofy. Everybody had one-liners. I was really looking forward to seeing the Alexander Skarsgård character, sort of his backstory. I read about some of the stuff that he was going to go through. Wasn't a huge fan of him being so diminished in the movie and like seen as this doink, but really he was the one who was getting everybody wherever they needed to go and had a real drive and passion to go down to Middle Earth, but everybody treated him like an idiot, which I didn't really understand. There was also a lot going into that as far as Godzilla fans. Obviously, King Kong gets to win in the original Toho version, which we know would never happen. I mean, like, the fact that Godzilla fans had to live so long with King Kong having a victory over Godzilla is probably one of the hardest things we ever had to do. But things were righted in that movie. And when Godzilla finally turns things around on Kong and they get into the battle against Mechagodzilla, everything is very arch and saccharine. The villain is very, mustache twirly and all those things. And I really started to realize that like Legacy had settled into Showa. They wanted to be Toho Showa because they want to do the bigness. They don't want to go towards serious Dune style filmmaking. They want to go towards Fast and the Furious Transformers. They're trying to sell these movies to kids that were once like us, who love these big creatures on screen, watch them destroying things, watch them do funny things. And I want to say that with all that said, I'm going to get into Godzilla times Kong. I think that Legendary with this film found their balance. They're obviously no longer trying to be serious, but what I thought Godzilla versus Kong did, New Empire, all that stuff. First of all, it should have been called Godzilla and Kong versus the New Empire, which I'll get into the story a little bit without trying to give too much away in a little bit. But what I will say, what I loved about this and what I really liked about Godzilla versus Godzilla Kong New Empire last night was that I just seemed to, the films finally found a balance. They weren't trying to do too much. There was still sort of the same issues. If you had issues with these films in the past, it sort of had a lot of the same issues as far as like dialogue and info dumping and things like that, which are hard to get away from in films like this because things have to be explained to a certain degree and it helps move the narrative along. And if not, you're probably going to have a 4-hour movie. So I understand some of the techniques that were used here to move the film along. And what was nice is that the visuals were there. So let's talk about the story a little bit. Unfortunately, the story has basically been leaked online for months. I did see snippets of it, and I was hoping that like what I read as I was going by wasn't true as far as like, I don't want it spoiled, but some of the things I did read were true. So people have been known for the story for a little while, but basically Kong's living in Hollow Earth, going around looking for his family. He hasn't found the whole place up. Eventually, he does stumble upon a pack of wild apes led by the Scar King, that big red monkey that you see in the trailers. Big red monkey has a friend named Shimu. That's a big ice dragon that's sort of in the family of Godzilla, but looks a lot different. Looks really cool. Has the everywhere it goes. Icicles follow. It's responsible for ice ages. It shoots an ice ray that freezes things. And so obviously as King Kong discovers them, they try to beat up Kong. Following Kong, they realize that there's a way to get to the surface now. This was like a world that was sort of, beyond reach, and now all of a sudden has a way to get to the surface. So there's a big thing. Godzilla takes a little bit of a back seat, I would say, through the first hour of the film. He's going around the world sort of getting ready for something. Something is sort of like Ghidorah. He is sensing that something is wrong. There's this signal that everyone is hearing, and he's preparing for a big fight. And then in the human aspect, where I was talking before, is where I think they found their balance. They follow the same doctor who follows Kong from the first film. If anybody wants to throw down actors and things, I didn't remember names. This isn't that type of review. I'm just giving you the raw of it. The lead doctor who follows Kong around, her daughter, who was from the Iwi tribe that existed on Skull Island. She's the last survivor. They brought back the podcaster who followed 11 around to Shanghai with the kid from some of the movies, like some of the New Zealand movies. But that's what I'm saying. Like in Godzilla versus Kong, there were all these groups going all these different directions. They were all trying to do different things, and they all came together in the end, but there were a lot of stories to follow. In this one, it was very much 3 stories. It was our stories of our human characters that always stayed together and never really split up. King Kong and his little adventure, and Godzilla and his ticking time bomb coming to deal with the issues that are going to come on later in the film. I'll try not to give too many spoilers tonight. I want to be really, really sort of vague with some of the things I'm doing without giving away. Everything you've seen in the trailer, is sort of the things I'm talking about and things you've seen. And then maybe a little bit later, we'll talk about some spoilers and things, and I'll give you a warning. So overall, I thought the story was very easy to follow. It made a lot of sense, and I was really there. And actually, one character that I'm forgetting. So they had the what's his name, the podcaster, but the new character is Dan Stevens, and he plays basically this kaiju veterinarian, and he is a welcome sight for sore eyes. I feel like Dan Stevens is reuniting with Adam Wingard. He did the Guest with Adam Wingard a long time ago, a very good independent movie if you haven't seen it. He brings a lightheartedness to the movie that actually feels right. He sort of cues a lot of the music and feels a lot like, I would say, if you're a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy and that Star-Lord sort of comes with a soundtrack, this character sort of comes like a Star-Lord soundtrack where he's flying, different machines, and he has different tools, and he can help out Kong in a way. And so Kong and the humans really kind of team up in a way. And and the humans kind of become Kong's pit crew, and which I thought was nice because it reminded me of King Kong 2 from the Jeff Bridges era, when Linda Hamilton in the second film was really there to like take care of Kong's mechanical heart. Not that Kong gets a mechanical heart in this one, but like that, it was nice that they were paired together in a way that wasn't as like sort of saccharine and annoying as the first film. I would say the most saccharine thing about the film is the relationship between the mother and the young Iwi girl. She's having trouble finding her place in the world, much like Kong. Her story really mirrors Kong in a lot of different ways, which makes sense because they talk through sign language. They communicate with each other again in this movie. But there's some nice arcs for these characters. There's sort of like, there's places for them to go. Kong has an arc. All the humans have an arc. Godzilla sort of has an arc, which is tied into, and this isn't a spoiler yet, but there's sort of some stuff with Mothra, who does make a return in this movie. She's been advertised for the film as well. And all these characters really come together. I really think they got Kong down as a character. He was really fun to watch from an animation standpoint. I remember Adam Wingard talking about the film early on, I think even before production, but saying that they wanted to create monster sequences that follow them without having to say, any dialogue. They're grunting at each other. They're doing these things. It's very much like watching a nature documentary on HBO or on Netflix or something like that about apes. It really felt a part of that was there. You see those things happening. Obviously, you see Kong fighting different monsters. I will say, speaking of late Toho, I did notice that there are 3 or 4 shots in the film that are like direct callbacks to some Monsterverse movies. The way that like we've seen them do the overhead shot on Kong as something's wrapping around his neck and pulling him into the water. That happened again. There was another one with Godzilla where his face was covered up and he had to do something and kind of blasted another Titan, out of the water. Similar effect. And I noticed that like they're sort of dipping back into the old well the way Toho used to in a way. But overall, like they did a really good job with the mocap and the acting and the way Kong looks in a lot of the scenes. You can see he's very beat up from Godzilla versus Kong. He's got all the scars left over from Godzilla whooping his ass, which actually make him look pretty badass and make you feel for him. He does some cool things in this movie. You see that he's smart, that he is intelligent, that all of the ape characters have a higher level of intelligence than your standard ape that you would meet in the jungle if you ever happen to do that. I heard Kurt Russell is good. You guys, Kurt Russell's in the TV show. So he's good. Godzilla. Let's talk about Godzilla a little bit. Godzilla is badass in this movie. I think one of the things I liked about Godzilla in this movie was they really let him take over the Alpha Titan role. Like he's been fighting pretty hard in King of the Monsters. He went toe to toe with Kong. They made it a fight in this. In this one, Godzilla is just a wrecking ball. He can't stop but just destroy everything in his path. There are multiple kaiju that he fights around the world because they're popping up and getting nervous because of these things that are happening, and he's just like completely laying waste to them. And it's fun. And what I realized during the film, and I think that this is sort of the best compliment I could give it, is that it found the balance to make it feel as if roles have reversed in a way. Toho is making the serious sort of really like poignant Godzilla films that have something to say. And now America is making the silly late Toho millennium style things that feel more like Power Rangers. And while I was watching the film last night, I just started imagining of like, what if this was a Toho Godzilla? If I was watching this and they were speaking Japanese and I was reading these lines and subtitles, the tone and the acting would almost match. The way that the characters sort of relate to each other in the Japanese Toho movies, and the camaraderie and the jokes, and like they're not always the super funniest thing, a lot of dad jokes, a lot of things like that, but I think that they really found that balance in this. And that if people want that Godzilla -1 tone, they have Godzilla -1 tone. But if they want to sit back and have some fun, this is actually this is a better representation of it. I think that they did a good job of setting it. I think that this was a good pairing of cast that wasn't trying to do too much or put too many names in it. I'm glad you know, they've moved on from 11, and she can just do Stranger Things now. And it's not, you know, she did fine for her couple of movies, but Millie Bobby Brown really kind of like in the last movie, I think her crew was one of the ones that really, every time they went to them, I was kind of bored. And it was just sort of odd. There's new things to discover in this movie. They open up the world a little bit more. There's some new rules. There's some other things that are going on. I liked that they brought in an element that is definitely Toho inspired. And I'm not going to spoil anything because I think it's a very key moment in the movie that you're going to want to see for yourself. But it's nice because it opens up the world for different other things. And if they're going to keep going with these movies, I think that there is definitely, what I could say is there's a reason why Godzilla is on the surface. He's keeping everything that's within the earth down there. And there are things that will want to get to Earth and take over there. And that's ultimately what this movie is about. It's about Scar King, you know, getting up to the surface, and he is the new empire. And that's why I said that, you know, this really should have been Godzilla and Kong versus the new empire, because that's what Scar King is. He is he's a primal ape. You know, he's top dog, alpha ape of, you know, Middle Earth, of Hollow Earth. And, you know, he rules the kingdom, and it's Godzilla and Kong and Mothra eventually against this kingdom of monkeys that are all very angry, and they have it reminded me a lot of Mad Max, especially Fury Road. If, you know, you think about that sort of town that everyone lived in, and there was that, you know, that idol that basically beat everybody in submission. That is sort of the tone of it. And I think, you know, the trailers sort of tell that. So you know that. So we'll go there. We'll do some questions at the end, J-Rod, but anybody who wants to ask questions or anything like that, just remember to drop a super chat. Remember also that we have some of the stuff to support the channel in the comments as well. Let me see what else is there. Let's talk about the fighting. The fighting was hilarious. Again, we're going into the level of Tohoville. What I will say is that you can expect some moves that you would not expect in, you know, I cannot see Gareth Edwards letting any of half of these moves go by with Godzilla. Godzilla is much more spry. You would say that, like in Godzilla 14, he was very slow. He had those elephant-like feet. His steps were like very weighed down and going, going at a certain pace. Like Godzilla runs in this one, he's almost as fast as King Kong. Godzilla does do some powering up. They sort of introduce this idea that Godzilla can absorb different kinds of radiation and change his sort of powers, which is kind of cool. And it's something that all the Titans have a power to do. And if they all kind of, all the power surges around is where you'll find Titans, and they're all sort of drawing power from the earth, which is pretty cool. Make sure to, smash that like button and subscribe, right? Agdanat. I hope you guys are doing well. So that's basically the views on that. Go see it. I think that this weekend, it's an amazing time to be a Godzilla fan. We've got a lot of content this year. I wasn't a huge fan of Monarch, and I guess Monarch fits in this world a little bit, but I guess we'll see what we're doing at that show. But I would say that, like, you want to go watch a big movie this weekend, like Godzilla vs. Kong is a good time. The characters are, just dumb enough, but not too dumb. The monster characters are fun as hell. There's a lot of really cool monsters, new monsters. I thought Shimu was really good. I thought Shimu's story was really nice. I think that everything sort of makes sense to a certain degree. And I've just sort of let go. I've let go of that Monsterverse that I thought I was going to see. And I've totally leaned into this, opposite of what Toho is doing. And the fact that they're making late stage, it's like Showa meets Millennium. It's like Showa's tone with Millennium sort of higher production values. But now we have like the full, these $200 million budgets they probably have. The CG was pretty good. There's a couple places where it felt kind of cartoony, and that's what I would say is that if I had drawbacks, the film gets cartoony in a few places, maybe a little bit too cartoony. And Godzilla, like I said, like in Godzilla in 2014 felt huge. Even in King of the Monsters, he felt huge. There are shots in Godzilla times Kong where Godzilla does feel huge, but there's times when Godzilla feels small. And there's times where Godzilla sort of fits in the frame. And I thought that if they maybe just sort of kept him huge the whole time, that would have been nice. But I don't think it would have. That probably hindered them from telling the story. So going to the monster's eye level, it sort of neutralized Godzilla to just being Godzilla and not having that extra epicness, even though Godzilla is always epic. But you go there. Let's see. I'm going to jump into some comments and see if we can get some questions going. So if I scroll on back, I just see Ronnie leaving a bunch of crazy messages. How about let's start doing questions now? I'm gonna jump down to the bottom and we'll pull stuff up. Okay. Godzilla 1954 has an iconic score like the original, also like the original Kong versus Godzilla soundtrack. Yes. Oh, I didn't talk about the soundtrack. It's there. I noticed, I think this soundtrack is it's very derivative of, like, when you watch a Fast and the Furious, do you really notice the soundtrack? When you watch Transformers, do you really notice the soundtrack? Do they have like massive themes that really stand out to you and like move you? Or are there like that pretty much staple monster movie music that's just with everything? I did notice there's a couple times they tried to shoehorn themes into moments, which felt odd. Like Mothra's theme sort of pops up in this one moment. And I was like, that was such an odd sort of like break just to do that. They maybe should have just left it instead of trying to jam it in. Things like that. I wouldn't say this score necessarily stands out, but it's fun. I mean, it starts off pretty rambunctious. So yeah, let's see. But Marcy also had this other comment. Not a big fan of monster movies. My favorite would be King Kong's by Peter Jackson or Kong Skull Island, even though it's okay. I've seen some parts of the old Godzilla and King Kong films. Peter Jackson's King Kong. I'm not a huge fan of it. I know everybody loves that one, but I feel like that movie is just way too long and there's too many scenes. I prefer the 1977 King Kong. I love that movie. I love the suit. I love Jeff Bridges in that. So I don't know. I've always been a big fan of the 77 Kong. Let's see. You can do that. Let's see. Cool. Somebody had asked somebody was asking about Jarvis versus Jason scenes. No, Jarvis versus Jason is coming in a red case. The red cases actually came in today. I should have brought them in. So the Jarvis versus Jason version comes in a red case. It's going to be a much limited print. So the first editions are, what's it called? There's like 2,500 that are going to be printed. There's, at the end of the day, right now, there's only going to be 500 Jarvis versus Jason Blu-rays printed. And we only sold about 450 of them, which wasn't bad. But they come with signatures of both me and Tom. They come with new artwork, different artwork, but everything on the disc is going to be the same as the first edition. We really can't afford to do multiple editions and things like that. If you want additional there, so that would be pretty good. So I hope that there's that. Oh, wait, where did that go? Question. What was the ghost mask made of? Resin. It's a resin mask. So it was it's thick though. I don't have it on me today. But it is definitely it's like, I can't remember the name of the resin, but it's a resin mask and it's very thick and it's slush casted. Linkin Park's tied to Transformers like this. Yeah. So like with Godzilla Kong, it's very much tied to needle drop music. I would say that is most of the soundtrack. It's, again, the needle drops, the montages, everybody's hanging out and having fun. It's a really like happy-go-lucky movie. Who are your influences in directing? Like my favorite directors? My favorite directors. Ooh, it's always tough. I mean, obviously Spielberg. I grew up a Spielberg guy. Big fan of Wes Craven, big fan of Lee Winnell, big fan of David Bruckner. Let me think. Catherine Bigelow. Who else? Tony Scott, I'm a big fan of. Ridley Scott too, obviously. And then it's just really a smorgasbord of different people. I love what Robert Eggers is doing and what, the types of films that he makes. I think he does something special. Yeah, I mean, I would probably have, obviously Scorsese, things like that. So, I'm a pretty staple film nerd. Alley Girl. The 77 Kong is my favorite. Then Jackson. I used to rent the 77 Kong from the video store almost every week. I had it on tape. We rented, like, we had a burned version or copied version of it. I love that movie. I have it on DVD or Blu-ray too, which is pretty rad. The David Bruckner Friday the 13th should have happened. That is very, very true. Do we have a new fan film coming out? We're working on Ghost in the Fog, the animated Never Hike Alone story that we're working with Mako. That's going to be part of a campaign we're going to run this summer, and that will hopefully be on that disc. The Never Hike Alone 2 Blu-rays are going to have a scene from it on the disc, so keep an eye out for that. For the Never Hike Alone 2 Blu-rays, we'll have some of the Ghost in the Fog stuff in there. Let's see. Oh, if you're looking for a thing in the comments, Undead is posting in the comments where you can get your Never Hike Alone Blu-rays. Also, please use caps if you're asking questions. It will be really easy for me to see what I am doing. Thank you. Let's see. So, yeah, I mean, let's see. I think it says a lot when the most engaging character for me in Kong Skull Island is Shea Wingham, even though it's not some legendary talent who's acting it. You know, I didn't like his character. I didn't get his character. He's just dropping these one-liners that are supposed to be funny, and I'm just not laughing. I think that's one of the problems is that, like, when in a movie, when someone's trying to joke and you're not laughing, it's a really hard experience. Which that's like Kong Skull Island, I love part of it, and then it just sort of teeters off the end. And then the way John Goodman dies in it, when you look at what his character is supposed to be as Will Randa and like one of the founders of Monarch, I feel like he got done dirty. Like he had to die. Like he should have survived. Like you got to keep a guy like that going. What's my favorite moment from any of the Godzilla movies? I don't know if it's a favorite, but I think it's just the end of Godzilla 1984. Him going into the volcano is just like this epic moment where everybody's just like, even the people are crying. Like, even though he did all this destruction, they still feel bad for him. I love that movie. I loved, oh man, Godzilla -1, when you actually see Godzilla -1 and Shin Godzilla, when they show the atomic breath in both of those movies are like, and they make the hair stand up on your arms. Like it's so good. Joe Gallo checking into the chat. He agrees about Bill Randa. Me too, man. I think he got dirty, especially the way they treat him in Monarch. Let's see, Jared, what type of axe did you use for the Never Hike Alone movie? Also, why are you so talented? Well, I don't know if I'm talented, but the axe was a gift from one of the executive producers, Carolyn Gare, who's a friend of mine and coworker in the world of animation. She gifted me the axe. I don't know where she got it, but it was a yellow handle. And I went, that makes sense. Camp Crystal Lake's colors are yellow. Why don't we use that? So it ended up becoming a staple of, Ghost Jason's axe is always yellow. And we tried to work yellow into a lot of the different kind of costumes and weapons as we went along the way. What did you think of Toby Kebbell's Kong Island and Andy Serkis motion capture work as Kong? Oh yeah, Andy Serkis is great as Kong. And what was his name? Toby. He was good. He was the one who I thought was going to have more of a story, and he kind of got cut off right away. I know that Toby does work in Planet of the Apes, which there's a new Planet of the Apes movie coming, which I'm really excited about. But I love the previous ones, which I thought were friggin' awesome. Yeah, exactly. Especially after the Monarch show, it was definitely was missing out on sort of like what he could have been in the Monarch show if Will Randa hadn't died in Skull Island. I would like, that's been my biggest issue with the entire Legendary universe is I feel like the writing has been, I hate to say it, but weak for quite a few movies. Skull Island through Godzilla versus Kong, there's some great big tentpole moments of like getting the characters to certain places and where they need to be, how they get there, and the way they entertain us along the way on a lot of those movies is tough to get through. There's moments where you're really scratching your head about characters making decisions or saying certain things. They're constantly trying to explain things, in dialogue that don't seem like natural conversation. which is just sort of the way it is. But they do that in the Godzilla movies too. They're always talking logic at each other. So that's why I just sort of sat back and kind of switched my filter to like, I'm watching a Toho movie. So I'm adjusting my, I'm adjusting my expectations, and I'm adjusting my cultural sort of radar. And so watching it as if it was a Toho film sort of saved it for me, I think. Question: have you set a date for the drawing? I'm probably going to do it middle of the next week. I'm going to need a couple of days to just get everybody's names wrangled and thrown to the thing. You know, how about this? Next Friday, next Ghost Files, that's when we'll do it. That way we can do it live. We can announce it with everybody. We can talk about the end of the campaign. We can talk about what's coming next. And, you know, we can do all that stuff. So why don't we call it next Friday, Gregory? That's a great question. You own the Friday the 13th Complete Edition, Vin? No, I don't. Although this is a Windows computer, so I can probably download it on this. That's the video game, right? So there's a video game out there with like, that's Friday the 13th, the video game, with so much more in it. I'm really excited again. I think it's called Friday the 13th, the Complete Edition game. Ghost Jason is in it. I got to find a way to download it and play it. So we need to talk afterwards of what, like, can I get it on Steam? Jordan, can I get it on Steam? Let me see in the comments. Agtanet Podcast. Ronnie, thank you for the super chat, my friend. 199. Really going all out. Really going all out. Thanks. Don't try too hard. I love you guys. Let me see. Somebody forgot caps. No, it's all good. Does anybody know who is mocapping Kong Godzilla in the movies? I don't know. If I was a better host, I probably would have looked that up, but you guys got Wikipedia. Just look it up. That's what I do now. I just ask, and some AI will tell me. That would be good. Let me see. Who else is going on here? I sent you the video, and yes, you absolutely need Steam to play. Okay, so I guess I'm finally gonna have to get on Steam. I think I can do it on this computer. This old ass Windows. We'll see if it can handle the ramage or whatever. I'm not a huge gamer, although I don't know. I kind of want to play video games. I think you guys would laugh your ass off at me playing video games. I know my brothers did for a long time. Like, I talk mad shit to video games. I get mad at video games. And it's kind of funny. Big fan of Red Dead Redemption. So maybe I can do one of those things where I get to be a character and I have to act the character the entire time. That would be a lot of fun. Whoa, here we got a good one. If you could direct Kong or Godzilla, which would you choose? Also, your flick being character centric with Godzilla Kong as a background, or monster centric? Well, I would want to direct a Godzilla movie. It's a good question though. It's like, what kind of Godzilla movie would I want to make? Honestly, if I wanted to do a Godzilla movie, not to say it would be like Godzilla -1 because I'm that type of filmmaker. I would do it from the standpoint that it would be a horror movie. Like, Godzilla would be scary as hell. And I think that's what I would tap into, those things from Godzilla -1, like that opening scene where it's just very, very scary. I would want to do more of that. I would want to see more of Godzilla's wrath and rage, almost like turning Godzilla into Jason Voorhees. The perspective would very much be from the human characters dealing with Godzilla showing up. And what would be really nice to do is come up with multiple scenes where Godzilla's appearance is almost like a jump scare. There's almost like, he's around, and then you don't know around until there's something that's kind of hiding him, and then he appears, which I think would be super, super awesome. How do you retract a super chat? You're such a jerk, Ronnie. It's so good. Let's see. I got more questions on here. I do too. I think we do. I think we need to do another one soon so you guys can ask me more filthy questions. Remember, thank you, Gregory. Everybody, share that link. Share those Never Hike Alone 2 links. Let's just get out as many people as possible. Remind them that everything closes Sunday. Get those orders in now, because I don't want to be chasing people. I just want to get these done, get them shipped out. I want everyone to enjoy them, and it's going to be great. Let's see. Who is your favorite character to portray Jason, and do you have a fan caster for your actor for Jason? Big fan of Ted White, big fan of CJ. Obviously Kane's work is great. Richard Burke, everybody brings something great to it. You know, not a huge fan of Ken Kersinger. I didn't like Freddy versus Jason. Derek Mears did an amazing job. I would love to see Derek Mears back in the costume with a new costume. But if I had to watch somebody play Jason, who would be my fan casting? Me. I want to do it. I would love to do it. Can I do it? I think it'd be pretty cool. But if it was anybody else, I don't know. There's creature actors out there. I'd have to see. I'd have to see who's out there doing what. The guy who did Prey, I think he'd be pretty good. There's quite a few people out there. I would enjoy to see you play the game, especially horror. Yeah, I mean, if I could play the Friday the 13th game, that might be like the best thing. And then I'll get a Discord and that'll be fun. What's the next big threat, you think? I'm guessing a threat from space. So without going into spoilers, I think they're going to keep the theme that the threat is coming from under. And what I would like to see is the return of Seatopia. If they're going to bring other cultures in and stuff like that, I want to see Seatopia and I want to see Megalon. I think they need to do an American Megalon. I think they need to go right that direction. I want to see Jet Jaguar. I think they need to do Jet Jaguar. And I just think they should just totally lean into it. They've got Jet Jaguar set up with the Dan Stevens character as far as like he builds stuff. He does things that pair with and help the kaiju. So they might as well just run with it and let him be that and expand off of there. I liked his character. I think his name was Trapper. Derek Mears would be interesting mocap for Kong. I don't know. I don't know if he would be the right fit. I don't think he's the right fit. He'd probably be a good Godzilla. Giant radioactive Jason versus Godzilla. What's really weird is that kaiju films for the longest time always wanted to do like Frankenstein versus Godzilla, Frankenstein versus Kong. Like Frankenstein would get blown up to this giant size. And I never understood the fascination with having to do that or wanting to do that. I never thought that was just never a good idea. How about a period piece Godzilla film? Hiding him in the night, low angles, effing scary. Yeah, I mean, if you always keep the camera on the ground and you're always looking up at him, or if just things, the fire, the destruction, a place is perfect 1 minute and then a fireball the next, and you're trying to get out of it. I think that would be really, really cool. Treating it like a disaster movie, which, Shin Godzilla did, but there was a sadness to Shin Godzilla. Like Godzilla was this tragic character that didn't know where it was or that it was bumping into things. It just didn't want to be attacked, and it was killing everything just to sort of defend itself. I want a Godzilla that's just mean. Like, what's the one? I can't remember the exact name of it. It's like All Out Monsters Attack, something like that. But Godzilla has white eyes. Oh, that type of Godzilla, please. That's what I want. Do you have a dream to direct a movie where you can make money? Yes, that would be nice. That's actually my next goal. My next goal is to direct a movie where someone is actually going to pay me to do it, and I'm not the one paying everyone else to let me direct. That would be really, really nice. He's making faces at me. Like and subscribe. Got a question. I'm not familiar with Godzilla, but is there a way to defeat him? No. Godzilla cannot be defeated. He's been defeated. Like, defeating Godzilla is sort of like killing Jason in the Friday the 13th Nintendo game. Like, he's down for now, but he will come back. And that's sort of like the continuing theme of each Godzilla. The Showa series always connects. So Godzilla, for the first part of it was always a villain. He would get defeated, so he would return to the sea. He would stop bothering mankind. Eventually, he became the defender of humanity and a friend to humanity. And then they restarted the whole thing. They did the Heisei era. He was he was an enemy of mankind, and then he became a friend of mankind, but he was also sort of just a force of nature that no one knew if they wanted to protect him or kill him. And eventually he sort of like petered out in his own way. The only way that we've seen Godzilla ever die is that he had a nuclear reactor meltdown within his own body. And that was in the Heisei era. And when he did that, his energy passed on to his offspring, who then became the new Godzilla. In the Millennium world, they do a lot of like remakes. They're not connected. They're all singular films that sort of connect to each other until the later end, which they do start to connect to each other. You get some recurring characters and stuff like that. So that will help you out there. Rest in peace, Ted White. I totally agree. This one's for him. No booze, just tea. It's been a long week. Allie, I agree. You would be my choice, Vin. Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm sad to hear that Ted White passed. I wanted to meet him too. I did meet his son, Michael. In fact, I helped Michael with a project called Cornstalkers, which is making its way around. So keep an eye out for that. So that should be really, really fun. How tall should a potential Jason actor be? At least 6'2" and 5/8 would be perfect. 6'2" and 5/8. If anybody was that specific height, be good. And then if you give them lifts, they can get up to like 6'4", 6'5". I really think that like it should be somebody who can fit into the suit, and then when added on, will hit about 6'4". I'd like to see a gangly Jason versus a big hulky sort of like sloth Jason. And we'll see. Another vote from Undead. Cool. I'm the next Jason. It's official. I need Biollante and Space Godzilla. Oh, yeah, that would be nice. I think you could get Biollante for sure. I think in this world, it is feasible to get Biollante. There are people experimenting with kaiju blood and kaiju stuff. I think that is there. There's also creatures from Middle Earth, Central Earth, Axis Mundi, and all the other places that you can go in these things. Plant life that will kill people. So there's a little bit in Godzilla times Kong versus the New Empire. So that's definitely there. Space Godzilla. I do think they need to do aliens at some point. They need to go aliens. The people from Planet X. I think they need to bring in Planet X. It is time. Adam Wingard. Come on, you're sticking around to this thing. Let's talk about Adam Wingard for a second. This dude, classic indie director, put together lots of great indie films. He's doing these mega movies. I saw a comment the other day I want to talk about where somebody was like, "Oh, Adam, stop doing these big budget movies and get back to doing indies." And I got to say, shut up. Your friend is directing multi-million dollar movies and getting paid. He is working with one of the most recognizable brands in the horror supernatural monster universe, which is the biggest monster. I mean, there's slashers, there's Jason and Michael, there's monsters, there's Godzilla and Kong, and he's doing both of them. He's doing a good job. I don't think Adam Wingard by any means is doing a bad job directing these films. I do not blame him for the crazy sort of dialogue and all this stuff. I feel like he's being fed these scripts. I do know that these films are studio movies, so they're getting studio logicked. That's why you're seeing a lot of this exposition where people are just explaining shit because executives think people are stupid. They think you're dumb. And so they want characters to say everything out loud versus you seeing things on a screen and putting things together, which you're perfectly capable of. Some things you don't even need to know. It doesn't even enhance your experience, but a studio exec will just want you to know it. So put it in the dialogue because you can just have someone rip out 10 minutes of a monologue to explain why Godzilla is swimming across the country. Like, how about they don't know and they're panicking? How about that? Works just as good. Moves you along faster, feels natural rather than, maybe this is why Godzilla is doing it and we explain it this way. And stop doing that. Just get rid of that shit. But anyway, Adam Wingard's doing a good job. I think people need to let him enjoy it. People said that to me all the time. "Oh, Vin, you're going to do your own film. Why are you doing these fan films? You're going to get out of Friday the 13th, blah, blah, blah." I'm enjoying it. I like it. I worked my entire life in this industry just so I could do Friday the 13th movies. Let me enjoy it while I'm here. Stop telling me to move on already because I'm not done doing what I'm doing. When I'm done doing what I'm doing, I will move on. Like Adam Wingard, when he's done playing with his Godzilla and Kong toys, he will go back to doing what he's doing before, or he'll take that fat check that he's getting from Legendary and he'll go somewhere where he wants to go. But congratulations to him because he friggin' earned it. And you should be happy for him. And he has plenty of time to make other movies. Let him ride this giant wave while he still can. Leave the man alone. Let's get back to questions. It's a 6 foot for the Jason actor should hire me. I need a stunt double. I need a stand-in. Megan versus Chucky. Is this happening? I don't know if it's happening, but it should. Good crossover. If they're going to do the crossover, you're probably going to see Blumhouse's Chucky. So you're not going to see our Chucky, the Chucky that we know, that we love. We're going to see AI Chucky versus AI Megan, and that will be an interesting film. I didn't hate the new Chucky. I thought the problem with the new Chucky wasn't the concept, it was the execution. I thought that Aubrey Plaza was an awful mom. She was just a bad mom in the movie, and she was sort of a bad person. And I love Aubrey Plaza. It was just very wild. It just wasn't good casting. And I didn't really love the story, but I do like the concept and what Chucky's powers were. Although the origin was kind of bad. Hey, what's up, Davey? Everybody, just a reminder, Davey Deathray, my friend, right there. He's going to be doing, I think he's going to be doing a review of Godzilla versus Kong, maybe going into some spoilers, maybe going into some extra stuff. I know he's got something going on tonight. So after this podcast, check in with my friend Davey on his channel. I forgot to put your link into the thing. But just check him out. He's down there. You can probably save a link right now if you're over there. Let me see. I'm talking like samurai encountering Godzilla. Ooh, Joe's got a good idea. Godzilla in the samurai age. Like, what are they going to do? Shoot cannons at him? They didn't even have cannons like the 1600s. That's interesting. How would they do that? What if in ancient Japan, they all worshipped kaiju, and the kaijus and the clans fought as one? And then Predator showed up. There we go. 2-1. Big box office smash right there. They should put me in the thing. Are you into fan casting? I think is a director instinct. I actually myself do a lot of fan casting. I mean, I obviously imagine people in different roles. I notice things from actors when they do roles about what they're capable of, what I think they'd be good for, who I think would be doing what. Part of my job as a director, when putting together lookbooks and pitch decks, is selecting actors that fit what I believe is the vision for the film. Not to say that we're gonna, get every single person that we want, but we can at least say, if I could pick anybody, it would be this person, and this is the reason why. So definitely do that all the time. Question. You mentioned natural disaster movies. Are you a fan of those? Like, for example, Twister? Twister I like. The original Twister, 2012, not so much. I think that the disaster porn movies are a little bit too much. But Twister I like. I think if you keep it that level where it's very much focused on a certain group of people versus having to jump around, I think that would be the way to do it. If I had atomic breath, I would be mean as fuck. Yeah, I think we all would. I think, well, you might be nice because nobody wants to fuck with you. You do it once. That's it. I mean, what are they going to do? You know what I mean? Like, dude's got atomic breath. Leave him alone. You would be a good choice for Texas Chainsaw. I agree. To direct it, yeah, I could direct a Texas Chainsaw. I would love to. Kind of want to do something like, I actually want to, I always get people for this, but I kind of want to take the concept of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and come up with something that fits New England. Like something New England Massacre. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out one day. Joe back. I saw a short clip of Godzilla looking very horror. I'll send it your way. That's why I think a period piece would be dope. Well, you can slip into my DMs anytime, Joe. Don't forget the Oxygen Destroyer. Well, they used it in King of the Monsters. So, they kind of went past that, but I mean, that would be Destroyer. I don't know when we're going to get him. But that would be something. I mean, that's like Godzilla's, what's it called? Doomsday. Superman's Doomsday would be Destroyer, made of the Oxygen Destroyer. Be good. Let's see. Greg. The original Oxygen Destroyer killed him. That's true. That's true. You guys got me. But if you follow some of the other movies, his spirit never died. So did he really die? 6'7" or 6'8" would be too much. That's why Ghost Jason was perfect. Yes, I agree. Am I the only nerd that wants Gamera to make a comeback? I have a Gamera doll that almost made it here. Wow, I'm so behind on comments. All right, I'm gonna start ripping through these. Godzilla versus Pokemon. Yeah, just smashing them all. That would be hilarious. They did say Monster Zero is from space, so it's possible. I agree. We'll make Vinny the next president. Oh, holy shit, we don't want that. Oh yeah, well, I don't think that that's too hard. Let's see. Wasn't Tom Morgan or Kane Hodder the shortest actor to play Jason? And Ken Kreisner was the biggest. Steve Dash was the shortest. Steve Dash was the shortest. And technically, R.H. Lehman was the shortest because he was a Chinese child. But adult Jason, the shortest one was Steve Dash. Richard Brooker was 6'3". Ted White was 6'5". CJ Graham 6'5". Well, Ted White was 6'4". Kane Hodder is 6 feet. Sorry, everybody. He's 6 feet tall. Or maybe he was 6'2" back in the day, but he's 6 feet now. Yes, I heard Louis Gossett Jr. passed away. Rest in peace to that man. He was awesome. Let's see. I'm going to start skipping some of these. Make as many Friday adjacent movies as you want. I'll back them. Yeah. Just like everyone else is doing. What is the age requirement for a Jason actor? Depends on what it is. And is he undead? Is he young? There's a lot of different factors that kind of go into that. I love Never Heard Galoon. Seen it on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Keep on watching. Climbing towards 4 million views. Almost caught up to Never Hike Alone already. Jordan with another question. What do you think of a Western Terminator movie? A Terminator sent back to the time of the Western era. Why not? Do it. Make a fan film. That would be funny though. Like, why would the Terminator have to go all the way back to the West? What happened in the West that caused them to come back to that moment in time? They're like, well, we ended up losing the Skynet war because of something that somebody did in 1869. Seems like an odd, like they invented something. Maybe they need to kill the inventor of something that eventually was so low tech, but ended up being the thing that took them down. That might be a way to think about it. Get you. So that's going up soon for him. Keep an eye out for that. Let's see. Man, Jordan, with all the questions tonight, how would you feel about a Western Terminator? You just asked me that. You mentioned Godzilla with the white eyes. Oh, do you remember why he was haunted by World War II ghosts? Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what I want. That's horror. That's like best. All right, let's see. What are your thoughts? Dude, you asked this question like 5 times. I'm going to kill you. If you saw Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre, what do you think of David Blue Garcia as director? It was his second film. He also worked as the cinematographer. Oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember when they made him the director. It was sort of like a controversial thing because he had such little experience. I didn't mind that film. I didn't think it was that bad. There's a couple moments where it really goes off the rails. Like when they see each other in the bedroom and they don't do anything to each other, that was really weird. There's a couple places where it does just completely fall apart. The characters are insufferable, but I think they're supposed to be, but that just may be a tone thing, but it looked great. Say that. He's a great cinematographer, great shots, great moments, great kills. But then some of it didn't make sense. So storytelling, I would not so much trust, but for Texas, whatever. I don't know. I wouldn't trust a Friday the 13th in his hands. That's for sure. Remember the Amazon wish list. Boop. Allie hit it up. She got me some foam things that I still need to hang up. I kind of want to do some stuff. Sarah Connor's great. Oh, there it is. Momo comes in with the save. Momo is a huge Terminator fan. In fact, she has the same scooter that Sarah Connor has. And I heard it's for sale. So you should definitely look it up on Marketplace or something. You can look up Momo. She will sell you Sarah Connor's scooter if you want to go scooting around this summer like Sarah Connor. Just don't get killed by the Terminator. But I like that. Sarah Connor's great. They're trying to go after all the... They can't kill the Connors no matter how far back they go. That's really funny. Doc from Back to the Future was all like, oh, tie back Terminator and Back to the Future. I love where your head's at, Allie. I have to say, you make these makeshift pitches sound like $1 billion box office hits. I know as you're a Goji fan, and it makes $1 billion better to keep it on there. Thank you, Entertainment Corner. I really appreciate that. Question: if you had the opportunity to direct a Predator movie, what would your idea be? The Predator would just come to Earth and break everyone's fucking legs. How about that? How about that would be the story that I would tell? No, I think, I think we got a little bit of it in Predators, but I think Predator and Samurai era. What would I want to? Oh no! If I did a Predator movie, I want to do Predator and Predator World. I've said this a million times. I I want to go on an adventure with a predator. I want a predator to leave the clan and try to go off on their own like a Ronin, and sort of have their own adventure and sort of be a hero, sort of break from the mold of having to be a murderer and just sort of see one, you know, do that. But they're also a predator. So they're also like, it's like John Wick meets Predator. That's what I want to see. I want to see John Wick meets Predator in a not Aliens versus Predator setting, because I found that the Alien versus Predators weren't all that well done. And maybe if they did a new Alien versus Predator, they should make it like John Wick, the Predator versus a billion aliens. And I would love that. How would a Godzilla film directed by Vincent DiSanti open? How all Godzilla films open at sea. That is just one thing I believe in, that if you're going to make a Godzilla movie, start at sea. Start it in the ocean. Something happens to somebody out in the water. You just got to have to come up with something original. That would be like my challenge, but I would want to start it near water and have it to do with water, and then move on from there, move into land, do some of the things that the original did with, like, there's something moving around, sort of like what Gareth Edwards did as well. Let's see. Oh, wow. I think a bunch of ones just came down the list. Oh, no. Predator Rumspringer. That's fine. Horror multiverse. Yeah, you like the Pooh-verse? That's doing all right, I guess. Has anyone seen the Pooh-verse yet? Has anyone seen Blood and Honey 2? Joe, you probably have. You probably liked that stuff. I love how it got 6 reviews and 100%, and everybody flipped out, and now it's at like 40. We have such a weird community that just like loves to do weird things with bad movies. Yana's got a question all the way from Russia. Hey, Vincent, what was your favorite fairy tale or tall tale when you were a child, or was it just your favorite books? Please and thanks. What was my favorite book? You know, I actually found these books the other day. They weren't very much books, but they were poems. I used to read a lot of like Shel Silverstein. I loved those books. I found all my old Goosebumps, so I used to watch those. Fairy tales, I wasn't into fairy tales. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, it probably would have been The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I love The Headless Horseman. I think that's a pretty rad story. There was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I used to love those. I read a lot of those, like the ones where like the spiders come out of the guy's face. That was definitely really cool. Those are the things that really kind of intrigued me as a kid. It should be your dream project in real life. If you should make your dream project in real life and you could choose your crew, who would you want to star in it and produce and compose it and be the cinematographer? Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I want to work with Timothy Oliphant. I want to work with Walter Goggins. I want to work with Jake Gyllenhaal. I want to work with lots of people. Cinematographer, I don't really know. I just sort of, I would have to figure out what the look is first and then find people who do that specific look. Compose it. I would love to keep working with Ryan. Produce it. Anybody with a lot of money and will stay out of my way. Just let me do cool things. Let me see. Question. What are your thoughts about the new Alien trailer for the new film? Hey, Fede Alvarez is going to kill it. So I'm looking forward to that one. I guess everyone who's mad about Prometheus can go eat an egg because they got something else to watch now. I like Prometheus, and I like whatever Prometheus 2 was. Thought the stories were cool. I don't know. Ridley Scott's a good director. Kyle MacLeod would be on a cruise and then bam, Godzilla. Oh my God. Kyle can't get away from anything. Kyle MacLeod he would go from raiding trails to raiding cruises and getting drunk on different beaches around the world, and then ends up in Godzilla. That would be pretty good. The scariest moment in Godzilla for me in the OG, the island storm scene. Yep. For me, it's when you can't see, it's what's so scary. I like to see a modern take of it. Exactly. That's actually the thing I was thinking of. You know what I mean? Like, started at sea and then something happens on land. And then you realize that like there's something coming out of the ocean and there's nothing that the people could do. Predator versus Jason, next fan film. Not from me. I wouldn't do that. I think that Jason would get his ass kicked. Jason has his there. I like you choose actors from Justified. Yes, you caught on. You found me out. But also Deadwood. started watching Timothy the Elephant and Deadwood. And I always saw Justified as an extension of Deadwood because he remained like the sheriff going to the thing. I don't know. Always just me the same. Jolie Carter. Yeah. Who is the weapons master? What is this? Joe, explain yourself. Let me see. People are texting me all over the place. Actually, I got a nice text from Kaiju and Richie. I sent my camp crew from Never Hike Alone a text today just saying I miss them because I used to have is you talking about the Keymaster? Missing some guys in the crew because we used to take trips to the camp for Never Hike Alone for every other weekend to go work on it. And after we were done shooting, there was a landslide that took out half the road that led up to the camp. So I haven't seen it since then. Kaiden went up there a few weeks ago and actually got some pictures of it. So luckily it's still alive. And I guess it's in good shape, but I haven't been up there and I'd like to see it. So I was saying, I want to get out there and see it with everybody. All right, I'm going to go to a party. All right, you're having actually a fun Friday night. So you go have a great Friday night. J-Rod, I'm probably only going to be, I've been on for an hour, so I'm probably going to get off in a little bit. Let's get a couple more questions in, and I'm going to call it a night. Certain fan film ridiculous. Oh, there's some fan films that I just won't watch. Actually, a lot of actors have been in Justified and been in Tarantino movie roles. Casting is really funny in Hollywood. The way that people will be cast to different roles, it's actually really, really interesting. Let's see. Ian McShane is, I don't know if he's underrated. I think he's very well rated. I think people love Ian McShane. He's been in a ton of stuff. He was in John Wick. Walter Gargans was in a pair of Tarantino flicks, and Timothy the Elephant for Last was okay. Yeah, no, it was good. The last one. Yeah, no, Timothy the Elephant. I just love that guy. He just love it. Question: will there be a Never Hike Alone Part 3? At the end of Part 2, Jason's head is still alive. Did you? Oh, he missed it. That's so funny. Let me ask this question. There can be a Never Hike Alone 3. Will there be a Never Hike Alone 3? I don't know. I talked about it with who would be in it. It's actually Never Hike Alone 3 would be very much a reprisal to Never Hike Alone 1 as far as the way that it would be filmed, the style it would be filmed. It would very much be that. Like, we'd get out of this whole, like, the Tommy Jarvis story is over, all that stuff. We would go back to the raw that somebody has a camera out there. There's mixed found footage. That it would be about Hikerman 5000. But there's a story there. I mean, if you guys want to hear the pitch, basically the pitch is this. Hikerman 5000 misses Kyle. He wants to do his channel, so he picks up where he left off and he goes out on the trail. Although Hikerman 5000, if you can't tell, isn't the coolest kid in school. There are other sort of streamers and YouTubers that sort of pick on him, and they do group videos sometimes, but he's the one that always gets the butt of the joke. But he's the only guy who likes Kyle MacLeod. They all think he's gay because they like Kyle MacLeod. They make fun of him, and they think, like, dude, you're not going hiking anywhere. He goes out to do this trail, and all of his friends follow him to fuck with him on the trail. So they get out there, they follow Kyle's footsteps, they end up at the camp, and without giving too much away, they awaken Jason, and you get that sort of multiple people with multiple cameras getting attacked by Jason. If you go and watch Never Hike Alone, The Lost Tapes, which is on our channel in the Never Hike Alone playlist, it is a proof of concept for how Never Hike Alone 3 would be made. It wouldn't be made vertical video like that. We would be a little bit better about sort of that. That was an experiment to see if we could create some vertical video entertainment with the Ghost Jason model. But you're looking at something in that realm, and we would expand upon it and make it as good as Never Hike Alone, which means that we wouldn't need as much equipment. We wouldn't need to be as, super high budget. It could be grainy and gritty. That's what we would do with that. I did like Godzilla versus Kong. I felt like a recap is, I like Godzilla versus Kong. If you like late stage Showa and some of the Millennium and even some of the Heisei, where it just sort of like, you just kind of got to surrender to the craziness. I feel like they found the tone. I feel like they didn't try to do too much. They didn't follow 15 different characters this time. They followed one group of humans, Kong and Godzilla, and it was very simple. Like the other one, like Godzilla versus Kong, felt you were following all these different people and all these different things, and not everyone got the right time. There was like a weird characters. This felt like everybody was real, at least. And I loved Trapper. I think Trapper saved the movie. Love to see the NHA camp if the opportunity presents itself. You know what? Maybe one of these days we'll have to schedule some type of mass trip. And if people are watching the Ghost Files every week and we can get people on board, we should do like a group trip where we all fly to Los Angeles. We can rent Airbnb, or we can all get, you know, hotel rooms at a specific hotel in Big Bear, or we can actually, there are great cabins near the camp that we could stay at. We could rent the camp that we stayed at Never Hike Alone and shot in. We could stay at Camp Laverne. You could stay where we shot. And then we can go to the actual camp itself. So maybe down the line, we figure out a way to, we do a field trip, get all our fans out there, go out, take photos, do a tour of the camp. I'll show everybody where everything is. I think that would be a fun time. We would just have to pick it out and make a big adventure of it. You know, it would probably make sense to do it around something like a Monsterpalooza. Like imagine if there was a Monsterpalooza or there was some type of festival that was going on in Los Angeles that we could all go to, and then, you know, as an extension of that trip, go do that. So let's throw that in the air. Let's let that settle in some people's brains. You know, you guys can email me if you have any ideas, or if you want to kind of do that. We'll sponsor it, and we'll make it fun. You know what I mean? We'll bring the costume out. We'll do campfires, all that fun stuff. It'll be a good time. Timothy O'Lohan was perfect. It was great and perfect getaway. Yes, he was. If any, oh wait, I skipped that one. I agree. Undead. I love Undead. If any cheater happens, I get my legs broken. Yes, Jordan, you can be one of the people. I didn't like Primeval as much as the original Justified. Same. But I think Late State Justified, I think it matched up with Late Stage Justified. Like my dad's actually rewatching Justified right now, and he's in season 2 through season 4, which I think is really the sweet spot. So I'm really excited for him to experience that for the first time. I would probably lose my mind too, but probably not for the same reasons. I think that the project itself would just drive me crazy. Although the people involved, I think, would be much easier to wrangle because there's much less of them, and they're all sort of in the same boat as far as like creating content. No one's actually out there looking for like big sums of money. So that would be really, really nice. Joe's down. He's going on the trip. Allie's down. She's going on the trip. Do it at the same time as Crystal Lake Nightmares. Oh my God. Comment of the night. Best idea. What does everybody say? Because I'm definitely planning to be there. James Sweet and I are planning on renting a booth at Crystal Lake Nightmares. We'll have a Never Hike Alone Jason Rising booth. By then we'll have the final cut done. You know, so we'll be running out there with those Blu-rays. We'll obviously want to have a table. I think we do this. I think that we arrange a trip from, you know, Crystal Lake Nightmares. I'll be out there with a car. Maybe I'll rent a minivan. If there's enough of you out there, what we can do, all right, is we can pile in a couple of cars. We can do the thing during the day. We can drive to the camp at night and walk up the trail with nothing but flashlights. And I will do a tour of the camp at night, a night tour of the camp, which would be pretty cool. So Sam Haines night, you're riding shotgun because you had the best comment of the night. I'm going to start saving. Yeah, me too. I got to put in some OT. Undead. Thank you. One last time. If you haven't yet, or if you haven't shared yet, take that link. Share it online. Take a screenshot. Email it to wompstompfilms@gmail.com. You will be entered in a contest to win a screen use prop. I know most of you people in this chat have probably already purchased Never Hike Alone Blu-ray. Thank you if you have. If you haven't, you have until Sunday to buy it. And then after that, you're going to have to email me. And if I have some left over, I'll put you on the wait list for PayPal. And you know, that would be the way to do it. But I like this. I like this idea. I think we're going to end on a good note right there. So what's this theme of the week? Go see Godzilla versus Kong. If you need something to do, the weather's starting to get warm. You know, it's light out. You want to go have fun with your friends. It's almost spring. let's do it. Go out and watch Godzilla vs. Kong this weekend. Support Godzilla content. Hopefully more Godzilla content will be coming. We are in an age of Godzilla. -1, Monarch, Godzilla times Kong versus the New Empire. Who knows what's next? Space Godzilla, other Godzillas, other monsters. Shimu is now a part of the world, which would be pretty cool. We'll see where it all goes. Sorry for that little spoiler, but anyway, make sure you get those things. We'll plan for the trip next year. Got to get that going. Bring the costume and scare us at night. I actually did that. When we made the Ghost Jason Attacks short film, I ran ahead of everybody, got changed, and then chased them around, but they didn't even know where I was coming from. So some of those scares are kind of real. Would you want to be killed by Jason or defeat him? I wouldn't want to do either. I wouldn't want to die, and I wouldn't want to defeat Jason. I would just want to slip away and let him do what he needs to do. Reminder, after the Ghost Files tonight, Davey Deathray, he's doing a Friday the 13th franchise ranking video, which is up on his channel. It will be here in 40 minutes. So after this, make sure you stop by Davey Deathray and check it out. Allie's going, Jordan's going, Joe's going, Sam Hain's going. I'm sure Yana will be there. You're all going to be there. But everybody, thank you for hanging out tonight. I know it was sort of a rambling review of Godzilla versus Kong versus the New Empire times Kong, whatever it is. I keep screwing it up because they made it very confusing. Very long title. I don't know why they needed to do that. But very much enjoyed my time in the theater this week. It was nice to be back in the theater. There were only 3 other people in there. And they were all Godzilla fans, which was a lot of fun because I walked in and the first thing they asked me was Godzilla or Kong. I said Godzilla. They were Godzilla. I was sitting with the right people, so it was a great crowd. And yeah, let's get back to the movies. Let's get excited about things on the theater. I didn't see it in IMAX. I wish I did. I may go back and see it in IMAX with my lady friend Momo, who's not in the chat anymore. She's probably doing some work out on her business. But next week, join me for another episode of The Ghost Files Live. I do not know what I'm going to be doing yet, just like I didn't know last week. But who knows? Maybe something will come up. We'll talk about it. We could probably talk about the ending of the campaign. We're going to draw our winner next week. Whoever those screenshots, and if you've emailed it to wompstompfilms@gmail.com, we're going to choose our winners next week. We're going to have 5 winners. They're going to be added to our prop list. So there are people who are donated to the campaign who got a screen use prop through their backing. They were either a associate producer or a co-producer. So you're going to be right under those people. They will select all of the things first, and then it will be these 5. And there is plenty to go around. I have a whole warehouse full of stuff. So definitely check in for that. Everybody have a wonderful Easter weekend. If that's what you do, if you're hiding eggs for your kids, put some money in it. Put some good candy. Don't skimp out. Mini eggs are the shit. Mini eggs are my favorite. What are your favorite? What's your favorite Easter candy? You like big chocolate bunnies, mini eggs, big chocolate Hershey Kisses. Anything solid chocolate is really great in my book. But it's been a blast. I love talking about Godzilla. Everybody, you have a great weekend. And until next time, I will see you all on the trails.